Good morning, traders and investors around the world. Welcome to this Wednesday, January 11th edition of Pre-Market Prep Plus. Joel Elconin here today with Tom Nikic. He's an equity analyst over at Wedbush Securities covering the always tricky retail sector. Let's run down the commodities and futures and then get into our guest and get to some issues of your choice here on this Rally Wednesday so far. S&P 500 index futures trading up 12 and a half handles at 53 and a quarter. Bid spent the majority of the session in the green. Only one number on the upside to pay attention to. Monday's high at 73 and a quarter. The buck is working on an inside day up 15 cents at 103.14. You have the bond that's trading up just over a half a point, 128 and 25/32. Crude finding a bid just in the 74 handle, now up $1.94 at 77.07. Gold moving its way towards 1900, up 460 at 1881.20. Silver, that's in the green too. That's in the green by 21 cents at 23.87. And Bitcoin futures are now down $100, $105 at 17,430. Michael Croggett, bugging some retail stocks in here right away and also some non-retail stocks. I'm sure he wants to ask our guest about these as we are waiting for Mr. Nikic to come in and join us here. And it is done right now. I'm going to stop the screen share. I'm going to bring on Tom Nikic. He's an analyst over at Wedbush Securities. And Tom is going to join us here momentarily and talk about some stocks that he's been covering. And I think I'm going to start right out. Tom, how you doing? You are live on Pre-Market Prep Plus.
Hey, good morning, Joel. Thanks very much for having me. Good to be back.
Good to be back, and I think we've had you on at all different times in this retail cycle. But just give us a top-down view here of the consumer. You know, the higher inflation, spending less money. They don't seem to be real deterred yet. Give us your broad view on the consumer and their retail spending.
Yeah, so far, the consumer does seem to be pretty resilient in light of inflation and some of the other things we've seen. What you have started to hear is this kind of split between sort of higher end consumers and lower end consumers. Probably makes sense that a lower end demographic would be hit harder by inflation and food and gas prices, et cetera. So we heard it from Macy's earlier this week. We've heard last time Ralph Lauren reported, they talked about how the only kind of little source of uneasiness they had was with their their outlet store shopper. So it seems like higher end consumers are still going strong, whereas you're seeing a little bit more choppiness at the lower end.
Okay, all right. Well, let's move on to some issues. I got a few coming here from Michael Crockett. Now, I'm not sure that you cover all of them, but so if you don't cover them or you don't want to comment, just let me know. But the first one, Lululemon. Now they came out with that news. So far, the dip has been bought. I looked at the guidance cut and I looked at the information they gave, and it was like, man, I mean, to me, it seemed like it was really punished off the information. Talk about your rating on Lululemon, the news that they gave to the street, and what you're looking at moving forward.
Yep. So I've got an outperform rating on Lululemon. So just, to recap, earlier this week, they provided an update to Q4 guidance. They raised their sales guidance, but they lowered their margin guidance, and net their earnings it was essentially unchanged. Now what they said, and this is what punished the stock, was that their gross margin which before they thought would be slightly higher year over year, is now going to be down about 100 basis points year over year. And in the third quarter, they missed gross margin. So now this is the second straight quarter that they've missed gross margin. And so I think some investors are worrying that this is a little bit of a red flag. Let's put things into perspective here, right? So their gross margins are going to be down 100 basis points in the fourth quarter. Nike just reported that a few weeks ago, and they said that the gross margins were down 300 basis points. Under Armour has said that in the December quarter, their gross margin could be down as much as 600 basis points. Adidas said it could be down 900 basis points or worse. So for Lululemon to only be down 100 basis points when every other company in the athletic sector is just seeing so much more margin pressure, I think it's kind of making a mountain out of a molehill. And Net is a brand that has a ton of momentum. They're growing top line really, really well. They're not discounting nearly as much as their peers are. And honestly, I view this as a buying opportunity.
Okay. All right. Let's you mentioned Nike here in the same breath. And I know you have a buy rating on Nike. I'm not sure what your price target is, but I've mentioned this on my show, several times. I have some local sporting goods store that I go to, and I knew exactly what I wanted with these Nike pair of shorts. I wanted another pair, and I went, and they're like, well, we don't have it anymore. You got to go directly to the company. So that's not good for Foot Locker. That's not good for some of these other places, but it seems like perhaps that overall shift in the business model has worked for them, and you've had a gap and go since earnings, and try to knock it down on the Lululemon news. It bounced right back. Not sure. Give us your target. I mean, I'm afraid of heights up here at 126, but Nike, it's off and running. Give us your outlook here after the nice rally.
So the stock's trading right around my price target, but just generally speaking, what I would say is, look, this is a high quality business. This was a company that in 2022 had a lot of things start to work against them. Inventories were too high, gross margins were coming down. China, which is, almost 20% of sales and a higher percentage of profits, had a really tough time with, lockdowns and zero COVID, et cetera. And then now look what we learned, on the last earnings print in late December. Inventories are getting better, right? They beat both on the top line and on margin, which means that the incremental sales that they were generating was largely full above what they expected, was largely full price, not all, markdown driven. So that kind of shows you that you've got strong momentum for the brand. And with China abandoning the zero COVID policy, that could potentially, drive a recovery in that market, which is really, really key to the Nike story. So whereas, in the middle part of 2022, all the arrows were kind of pointing sideways to down, the arrows are pointing up now.
All right. So some beauty stocks here. Just let me know if you cover any of these. Ulta? Nope, you don't cover Ulta or Elf, correct? And then getting away from the beauty, you don't cover Levi Strauss either, correct?
I don't.
Nope, we're striking out here. All right, I'll cover these stocks. Do some technicals after we're done with Tom here. Let's get to footwear, shoe wear. People are going back to work, getting out, doing more things. You have your most recent move on Steve Madden. You have it, I believe you have it as a hold, and you downgraded it. Any reason to find some optimism here for Steve Madden? Shoot.
Steve Madden, I think in the near term will be a little tough. So look, they don't do a lot of, direct to consumer sales. Wholesale is about 80% of their revenues, right? And they sell a lot to department stores, to They make private label products for Walmart and Target, and everything that we've heard from these retailers is that they're planning their inventories really, really cautiously. We heard a lot about canceled orders heading into the holidays, et cetera. Steve Madden has very, very hard compares for the fourth quarter that just ended and the first quarter that we're currently in. So I think with those difficult compares and the dynamics around wholesale partners being very, very careful with how they buy new inventories, I think that's going to make things tough for Steve Madden. The light at the end of the tunnel here is they have the fastest supply chain of any company that I cover. So when Walmart, Target, Macy's, Nordstrom, et cetera, when they're ready to start, replenishing their inventory and buying product again, Steve Madden will be they'll be the first to the market, right? They'll be able to get stuff to them faster. They can, turn on the drop of a dime. So when there's kind of an inflection in the wholesale market, they'll be best positioned to capitalize.
They sell Steve Madden at Walmart?
Not the Steve Madden brand.
Okay.
They make the private label, exclusive brand.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that. Well, just to show what an old man I have more than a few pairs of Skechers, and that stock has had it. I don't know. I mean, they're light, they're comfortable, they're cheap. The Tony Romo commercials and stuff. You currently have a buy rating on this. It's looks like it's quite a bit above your target here. What's your outlook here for Skechers? Nice run to start the year, 42 to over 45. Give us your outlook for Skechers.
Yeah, I mean, as a Giants fan, I kind of wish they'd move away from Tony Romo and Tony Romo and David Ortiz. We got to get away from them. Can we get some Eli Manning and some Derek Jeter instead? But I digress. Look, okay. It's a brand that kind of has a lot of momentum. The shoes are comfortable. They're value priced. As I mentioned with Nike, the whole China dynamic. China is also very, very important to the Skechers story. So that was a big growth driver for Skechers for years and years, and obviously took a step back in 2022. So getting China going again is important to the Skechers story. And there's another interesting dynamic that's happening with Skechers where, how you were saying, hey, you walk into XYZ store looking for Nike and you can't find Nike anymore. Yep. Well, those store, when you're looking the value channel or the family channel, so a store like DSW that Nike recently exited. Well, DSW is not just going to sit there and say, okay, well, we've got no Nike, so let's just carry less stuff than we used to. No, they're going to find other brands to fill that gap. And a lot of the value priced, family oriented retailers are looking to Skechers to fill that gap. So Skechers has actually, found a way to benefit from Nike's shift to direct to consumer.
Okay, Deckers Outdoors. I remember you talking bullish about this one. Not too far. I mean, 40, 50 points away from the all-time high. You talked about, on the dailies here, I'm seeing matching highs right there for Monday and Tuesday. So we'll keep an eye on that. We talked about the Hoka brand with Deckers. I still think the UGG slippers are way too warm. Also winter boots that you can't wear in the winter. But nice run here in Deckers Outdoors. Give us your rating, your price target, and any additional comments.
Yeah, I've got an outperform rating on Deckers, and it's on the Wedbush best ideas list. So it's essentially kind of my favorite name in the space. Hoka, amazing growth story, just growing brand awareness. Everyone, You're seeing them all over the place now, just, gaining new distribution. They went into Foot Locker earlier this year. They're slowly expanding with Dick's Sporting Goods. So, whereas before you could only find them in these little mom and pop running stores. Well, now you can find them in, your kind of big, high prominence retailers. The UGG brand, I think, is also unbelievably hot right now. They were kind of, sort of the must-have brand for the holidays. And whereas most of the brands I look at or in the apparel and footwear world were essentially drowning in inventory this holiday season, as far back as October, UGG had products that were either sold out or on back order until January, February, etc. So that kind of tells you how strong the demand for UGG is. So both the big brands, I think, are really, really hot right now.
Okay, two more. I don't think you cover AEO or Louis Vuitton.
Neither one.
Okay, well, you've done a good job, Tom, in the retail sector. Tom Nikic, he is joining us here. Wedbush Securities covering the retail sector. Thanks for joining us, and let's hope we can keep this momentum going. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks, Joel. Always a pleasure.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. We got a lot of tickers here to cover. Some of the stocks that he didn't cover. I'm going to get as many as I can in here. We only got about 7 minutes remaining, so I'm going to do some rapid fire ticker time here. On holding. Nice move. I know you've been in this one for a while, Michael Crockett. Big move this year. I mean, out of the gate, look at this thing for 23. They've had a great year. It looks like he got a first things first, taking out the previous day's high. But longer term, this $21 area peaked there in late August, in September, just missed in November, now coming up again. So you're looking for a sustained move higher. They got room up to 21 on this one, but 21 is the clear breakout area. Levi Strauss, I mean, they just make their jeans too good. I mean, same thing. Nice move up here in 23. Nice momentum. I mean, 5 up days in a row. Clear path or next resistance area over $17. I see 1770 is a stopping point, 1764. Now you might need a couple days of consolidation, maybe put a series of lows here. I see the 1654 low from yesterday, a couple more lows in that area and get some momentum for Levi Strauss. Lulu, yeah, they did buy the dip. We did look at that chart already. Ulta bounced back from a downgrade earlier in the week, knocking on the door. We got 4 highs in the same area, trading up 67 cents. We got a zone here, but let's just call it 491. That's the top of the area. But your last 4 highs have been between 89 and 58 and 90, 98. That's a little over $1.50 range. Lighter volume over the last couple days, but sure looks like it's trying to break through that quad top there. So maybe just comfortably move your stop up instead of trying to pick a top in that one. We got Alta Elf. I don't know what the news on it yesterday was. It did take the hit, trading up 28 cents here in the pre-market. Man, not sure. Big 2-day move here. So you're going to need some consolidation. I think your risk here is under $50. That's your next support area. Looks like 49.50 to 50. You had 4 lows back here in November. But if this thing goes red today through that closing price, perhaps some more work on the downside. Under $50. That's taking a look at Elf. We covered all those for Michael Crockett. Cody's always been a laggard, and well, not so far in 2023. I think you got to go to the monthlies here. Man, I think the stock could have got bought out at a much higher price, but the highest level you've had, the COVID rebound high is 1112. You're only at 945. There's some more potential upside. This has just had too many up days in a row for me, going back to the end of last year. So trend is your friend. It's higher. You might want to draw a steep old trend line, but it looks like could be in for a little bit of a breather. Louis Vuitton, that we talked to, Tom talked about the higher end consumer doing okay. Do I have this? LVMH. It might be a different symbol on mine, folks. I think it's a couple other letters because it's traded. I think it's traded OTC. So you guys have to get me the symbol. I think it's LV. I think there's an X in there, but I'm not sure. But let me move on here from there. Let's sticking with the retail. Crocs, strong chart too, and Crocs, CROCS. I know Mitch was looking at this one and thought the chart looked good. I thought, come on, Crocs, CROX. Boy, oh boy, I'm off of my symbols this morning. There's Crocs, up 73 cents on 4,200 shares. Are we breaking out of 115? Sure looks like it. Top of yesterday's range, 115.38. The close, 115.27. So there's your support, resistance. I can't find any for you folks. Not much on the monthlies. Maybe, wow, working on a big retracement here, 180 to 50. That's 130, 65. I mean, you still got a little range. Figure your 50% retracement on that one. Crocs, AEO for EKS. Finding good support, up a dime here, 3 lows in the same. Patient buyer under 15, 1480 to 15 has been the lows in the last, let's call it 4 sessions. So good area of support, kind of looking like this area here where you had a couple lows in the same area. What's been the high close of the rebound? Hey, it's been 1531. The recent high, 1546. Looks like you got some room on this one. If you could clear that, working back on the red bar. S&P's just punching through the highs of the session here, up 17 and a half handles. As we mentioned, we are creeping closer and closer and closer to that high from Monday of 73 and a quarter. Let's do 2 more real quick. Duluth Trading. I haven't seen their funny commercials lately, but they're pretty good. Moving up, quiet. Been just a cap on this one at 640, 644. So get above that. Got some room on the upside. Long consolidation. Look for a move higher if we can clear. Let's call it 650. Cool ads. I agree with you. JW Nordstrom. That got hit on the Macy's news. Good support. You can see where all the support is. Just under $16. Good support and good resistance too. If you're looking for this thing to get some jets and take off here, let's look at this 17 and a quarter area. I see several highs going back to mid-December. Okay, folks, we're going to wrap it up today. Thanks for joining me, Pre-Market Prep Plus. We'll be back at 10:30 with stock odds.